Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here. On Thursday morning, August the 17th, we will focus in on Hurricane Hilary. It has just reached hurricane status with 75-mile-per-hour sustained winds. It will throw tremendous amounts of moisture into California, into Arizona, into Nevada. It has, again, just reached hurricane status. Quite likely could climb all the way up into major hurricane status before it then undergoes a weakening phase as it approaches the northern part of Baja California. Probably at tropical storm status by the time it reaches the southern border of the state of California. But whether or not it weakens at that time and whether or not it actually tracks over the state of California, the southern part of California, it will indeed very likely throw tremendous amounts of tropical moisture northward into California, Arizona, Nevada, and ultimately all the way up into Oregon and Washington as well. This is the latest official position by the National Hurricane Center right in this area right here. And again, it has just now become classified as a hurricane with 75-mile-per-hour sustained winds. Likely undergoes intensification over the next 24 to 48 hours. Again, possibly reaching major hurricane status. That is what the M stands for here, as designated by NOAA's National Hurricane Center. Then it moves over cooler and cooler waters of the eastern Pacific Ocean. This is Baja California right here, and of course the southern border of the state of California right here. Liable to weaken into tropical storm phase, tropical storm status, I should say, by the time it moves over the northern part of Baja California at the end of the upcoming weekend. But that does not mean it can't throw tremendous amounts of moisture. Even if this were to shift a little bit to the west, let's say, it still will throw tremendous amounts of tropical moisture into California. And again, certainly western Arizona and Nevada will get likely inundated with tropical moisture as well. So again, this is the very latest track as depicted here by NOAA's National Hurricane Center. Hilary has now reached hurricane status and could climb to major hurricane status over the next 1 to 2 days. Well, let's go through a series of plots here. This is a compilation of storm tracks, forecasted storm tracks by a series of models listed here, and actually pretty consistent here in taking Hilary off the southwestern coast of Baja California, then likely over the northern part of Baja California. Again, right here is the southern border of the state of California, and it very well could move over land by the end of the upcoming week and the early part of next week. Now, if this shifts a little bit to the west, let's say, that still does not mean they will be inundated by rain. Indeed, whether or not the track is indeed right over the landmass of northern Baja and southwestern California, or just off the coast, tremendous amounts of tropical moisture will push northward into California, Nevada, and certainly western Arizona, maybe much of Arizona as well. Ultimately, a lot of that moisture rides up to Idaho, Oregon, and Washington as well. Now, these are the kind of precipitation totals that are on the table for this upcoming event. Up to a half a foot, and perhaps even more than that in some portions of Southern California. Many of these spots will receive more rain from this system than is climatological for several months. Again, Southern California, and this should happen whether or not the storm track puts Hilary over the landmass of northern Baja, southwestern California. Even if we were to shift a little bit to the west, a lot of tropical moisture will push northward. It's a wide moisture field associated with this tropical cyclone. So again, upwards of perhaps 6 inches of rain, and that certainly would cause some flash flooding problems in Southern California. Again, a lot of that moisture will impact western Arizona, places like Yuma, for example, significant rain on the way, and Nevada as well. This ultimately pushes northward towards Idaho, Oregon, and Washington as well. The time frame, basically Sunday into Monday, looks like will be the worst impacting time period. Again, Sunday into Monday in the southwestern U.S. Now, this is a very impressive looking weather event headed for the southwestern part of the U.S., and it may rival the 1976 hurricane called Kathleen. This was September of 1976, and look at this track here. It actually mimics quite well what is expected for this particular system here, in that it moves over the northern part of Baja California and then over the very southern part of Southern California. Again, right here is the border between the state of California and Baja, Mexico. So again, very similar track expected here as compared with Hurricane Kathleen in September of 1976. An interesting time period, September 1976. Of course, we ended up having a very, very cold winter in the eastern U.S., 76, 77, January 1977, just a few months after Kathleen hit the southwest U.S., was one of the coldest months ever recorded, as a matter of fact, for the continental U.S. Well, let's wrap up by taking a look at a couple of computer forecast models from 0Z last night. We're looking at the GFS here, and then we'll take a look at the Canadian model. And the main reason I want to show both of these models is that pretty consistent storm tracks amongst the computer forecast models. We saw that compilation a moment ago, and here is the GFS from 0Z last night. We'll just push forward here. We're focusing in here on the southwestern states, and here we are into Friday, and then now Saturday morning, and this is one of the first signs of moisture feeding in. And again, this is all tropical moisture, and there is certainly some monsoonal moisture feeding in as well. Monsoon is really a reference to a seasonal wind, and this time of the year the southwestern states certainly can get monsoonal type winds, monsoonal moisture, and that actually will be an additive factor. You have tropical moisture and monsoonal moisture feeding into the southwestern states. Now here we are by Sunday morning. It's already the GFS depicting some heavy rainfall across southern portions of California, northern Baja California region of Mexico, and here comes the storm system itself. The GFS from last night's 0Z run has it right over the northwestern coast of Baja California at this time, and maybe just a bit off the coast by the time it reaches the latitude of the southern border region of California. Now again, if this moves inland a little bit or just off the coast, doesn't really matter in terms of the copious amounts of tropical moisture that will feed in on the eastern side of that system into California, into Arizona, and Nevada. And here we go a little bit farther in time, and it does indeed move over the land of Southern California by Monday afternoon. Again, tremendous amounts of rainfall, perhaps 6+ inches, maybe even up to 10 inches in some spots on the table across Southern California, and no doubt flash flooding could take place with that kind of a rainfall. Again, moisture ultimately heads up northward into Nevada and finally into Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. This is all the way now into Tuesday morning. You see the moisture moving towards interior sections of the Pacific Northwest. Now let's walk through last night's 0Z run of the Canadian model just to show the consistency here between the models. So again, pretty high confidence in this storm track. Here we go, Saturday afternoon, evening, start to see the influx of tropical moisture well ahead of the surface system itself, the tropical cyclone itself. And here we go, the Canadian model dumping some heavy rainfall amounts late Saturday night time frame, and that just continues into the day on Sunday. This is some tremendous rainfall. This is a storm track a little bit farther to the east into the southwestern corner region of Arizona. But again, keep in mind that no matter what the storm track ultimately ends up being, there will be a lot of tropical moisture combined with monsoonal moisture feeding into California, Arizona, Nevada, and again, ultimately into the interior Pacific Northwest states of Idaho, Oregon, Washington. Here we go now all the way into Sunday evening, and then Monday morning some of that heavy rain shifts all the way up into Northern California by Monday morning here, according to the Canadian model run from 0Z last night. And again, ultimately the moisture goes up into the Pacific Northwest. So that's it for now. We'll continue to monitor this situation and might make updates later today at arcfieldweather.com. This has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.